Hello, and welcome to another episode of Be a Leader podcast, where we talk about current events in sports, military, and business through the lens of leadership. And we're still in March Madness, and what a crazy Sweet 16 and Elite 8 that we had. Yes, we will talk about the Duke UConn game, but I want to talk about 3 other games as well and take out some of the leadership principles that we can learn from this game and apply it to our self-leadership and as we lead others. So let's get started in this. The first game I want to talk about was a Sweet 16 game of the Texas Longhorns against the Purdue Boilermakers. Texas was part of that first 4. They had to win 3 games that week prior to get into the Sweet 16. They were 11th seed. They played against Purdue. That was a number 2 seed, a very strong team. And the final score was Texas 77, Purdue 79. But let's talk about what happened in this game. Texas is a hot team. And as I say in basketball, a hot team is a dangerous team. Traymon Mark is their stellar scorer for Texas. He is fantastic. In the game, he did sprain his ankle midway through the game, but that didn't slow him down scoring-wise. He was making shots that just didn't even make sense. He was on fire. Texas overall was going through him and their big down low, but they were very good scoring. Purdue on the other side, they know their identity. They have a great guard in Braden Smith. He's an All-American. He's a 6 foot on a good day. Briss broke the assist record all times for men's college basketball. And they have great post work, great footwork, great fundamental. I love to watch them as a basketball coach myself. That's who they are. That's how they play. And towards the end of the game, this is where it gets interesting. Who's gonna be the last one to score? Because they were both making buckets. It was a very entertaining game. Who's gonna make that final shot? And towards the very end of the game, Smith, that great guard, did an isolation play against one of their much taller players, was able to make this layup, and it was beautiful. At the very end of the game, it's right there. It's a tied game, and again, it's in Braden Smith's hand, and Purdue focuses on their identity. They know who they are. They know if they can just get in the paint with Smith, everything opens up. He could shoot the ball, he can make it. He could shoot the ball, miss it, get a rebound. He could go up and then dump it off to a big. He could also kick it out and shoot to one of their shooters for a three-pointer. There's a lot there, but they know their identity. And because they know their identity, they're able to execute in chaos. They lean on their identity and execute in chaos. And part of that identity is making sure the behaviors align so you get the results you wanted, right? That's my IBR framework. So part of the behaviors are making sure people are in the right spots, be in the right position, take advantage of the situation, be in the right position. So Braden Smith was on top. He had his wings on the side. He had his big down low. He drove in. He had a tough angle, but he did get the shot off without being blocked, which is key. He got that shot off. It hit the backboard. It almost went out. I thought it was going to go in. Hit the rim, bounced out, and one of his bigs, Kaufman, was right there. Jumped up and tapped it in at the buzzer to win the game by 2 points. It was a thrilling ending. And again, it goes back to this leadership lesson as being very clear on your identity, being very clear on being in position, be in the right place at the right time. Give yourself a chance. They're very good on the fundamentals, but that's how you execute in chaotic situations, by playing very calmly, by focusing on what you need to focus on, and by being in position. And Purdue did that in that close game to win it and move on to the Elite 8. Now, they did lose in the Elite 8 game, but we're going to focus on what we can learn from that game against Texas. Great job on that game. The second game we're going to go to is the Illinois Fighting Illini versus the Houston Cougars. Illinois, 3 seed, Houston, a 2 seed. Houston was the runner-up last year. They almost won the national championship game last year. They were this close, and they lost. This year, they want to get back into the national championship game. Favor was on their side. They're the 2 seed against the 3 seed, and unusually, they were also playing in their home city. The game was in Houston. They had it all lined up for them. Win the Sweet 16 with the Elite 8 in Houston, get to the Final Four in Indianapolis. That's what we're setting up. When we talk about the identity for Houston, they are defensive and rebounding focused. They're going to play harder than you on defense. They're going to get rebounds both on offense and defense. That's their primary way to score. They're not a big scoring team. Okay, they're not a big scoring team. They can't score really in bunches. So Illinois comes in this game, and they know the identity of Houston. And they said, we're going to mess with that identity. Illinois is the tallest team in the NCAA tournament. They use their height and their length to mess with that defensive-oriented, rebounding-oriented Houston. They wanted to get more rebounds, and they wanted to stop Houston, and they wanted to score in ways that Houston isn't used to stopping. It was a tight half, but in the second half, it was a tight halftime, but in the second half, Illinois goes on a 17-0 run. In other words, they saw Houston, they said, you think you're good at defense? We're going to score 17 points in a row. And you think you're good at rebounds? We're not even going to let you score one bucket. 17-0. It was an all-out assault on the identity of Houston, and it shook Houston. It shook them. They didn't know how to respond. They couldn't respond. They tried and inched their way, but they could never get anything closer. They ended up losing by 10 points, 65-55. I've coached college basketball, I coach high school right now, but when I coached college, a key metric for me was how many free throws attempts am I making per half? And that's an indicator of how aggressive we are getting into the paint, right, to try to get layups, because oftentimes we'll miss some, but we'll get fouled and go to the free throw line too. Houston made one trip with 2 free throws, one trip the entire game with 3 minutes to go in the game. 3 minutes to go to the game, one time. What that tells me as a coach is a lack of aggressiveness on offense. And aggressiveness starts on defense. And because they were not being able to do well on defense, their defensive identity was challenged. It was showing up on the offensive side. And here's the biggest lesson here. Houston was not able to adapt. Okay, we're a defensive team. We can't get stops. Okay, rebounds have been a challenge. We can't get that. They got to find something else. Whether it's being more aggressive, right, on offense, getting to the free throw line. Whether it's having some simple offensive moves they could do, maybe off some screens. Like, find something. There's got to be something else that you can rely on when your identity has been smacked back and forth, slapped in the face. Houston could not adapt. And because of that, they lost this home court advantage. They're done. So that's the lesson that we're going to take from this one, okay? When your identity gets attacked, when things are getting challenged, you have to be able to adapt. Find something to adapt on. How many times in the Marine Corps, the plan did not work out? I had to adapt. Sometimes it was because I had air on station. I'm controlling aircraft. Something doesn't work. Maybe there's a pod that doesn't work, or something else is not working out with the aircraft. They run out of fuel, or visual's not getting there. What can I adapt? Do I have other assets? Are there tanks? Are there artillery? Are there mortars? Are there naval gunfire? Can I bring in UAV? I have to do something because I know what I need to do for my infantry. Right? I have to be able to adapt. Adaptation is constantly going. You have to know what you have in your repertoire. But here, Houston failed to adapt, and that was the end of their season. So what can we learn from that? All right, let's go on to the third game. Again, I'm a Michigan guy. If you remember, I graduated from Michigan. I worked for the basketball team all 4 years. I worked under John Beeline. I was the head manager my senior year. I later went to be a graduate assistant coach, but my position was cut first week of school from Jawan Howard's staff. And so I'm a Michigan guy. They're also a very good team. They're a 1 seed. I do have them winning in my bracket. I hope they do win. But we're going to talk about Michigan, so I'm definitely biased. I'm just throwing that out there. But the Michigan Wolverines against the Alabama Crimson Tide. So these games are fun in football. They have some great endings the last few years when they've played for the last decade plus. But here was basketball. Michigan's a 1 seed. Alabama is a 4 seed. Alabama came in hot, just like we talked about Texas. Alabama's a hot shooting team. Hot teams are dangerous teams. We go in this game, and I would say Michigan has not been playing well the last 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, I mentioned a little bit about their identity in another video. Michigan's identity is we are a defensive team. We're very athletic. We're a defensive team. We're going to get stops, and we like easy transition buckets, and we can score in bunches. That's how Michigan is dangerous. We're going to get stops, and we're going to score in bunches. But they haven't been doing that lately. I'd say the last 2 weeks was a struggle. They lost against Duke in that very close game, Washington, D.C., before the postseason. They lost to Purdue in the Big Ten tournament game. They haven't been as good as they were most of the season. And I think they just haven't been living up to identity. So they come into this game here. Michigan has just been so-so. Not that great, in my opinion. Alabama has been very hot. And so what we find ourselves at halftime, that Alabama is winning. They're winning at halftime. They're dictating the pace. They're getting the shots they want. They made 9 3-pointers in the first half, which is a lot of 3-pointers. They're shooting 37% from threes, so roughly 1 out of 3 they're making. These are great statistics in Alabama's favor. What is Michigan going to do? The second half, it finally clicked. It finally clicked for Michigan. We got to get back to our identity. We got to get back to that defensive first mindset to create easy buckets for us on offense. And that's what Michigan did. They finally imposed their will on defense. They pushed down that shooting percentage from 33% down to 22%. Alabama looked exhausted. The play that I think about most was towards that second half, a few minutes left in the game. Alabama just couldn't make. They were so worn out by the time they got shot off that they were missing. And there's this one where the Michigan defense is all over the place, creating chaos. And finally, this guy tries to do a running to the side, pull up three-pointer just because he needs to get a shot off, shoots an air ball. The ball doesn't go out of bounds. It hits the inbounds right before it goes out of bounds. One of the other Alabama players jumps out of bounds, grabs the ball, throws it back inbounds, only to hit another Alabama player in the chest, and it falls out of bounds, and it's a turnover. Like, that was the situation Alabama found itself here at the end of the game. They were exhausted, shooting bad shots that were short because they were tired, because Michigan was dominating so much on defense and finally getting easy shots. Michigan imposed their will in the second half. And this is that thing. When you start to drift, here's the lesson. When you start to drift, you got to lean back on your identity. Again, identity, behavior, results. Their identity was, we are a defensive, ferocious team first. Our offense comes from our defense. They started behaving that way, focusing on their defense, wearing out Alabama, making them take tough shots, getting the rebounds, pass, score. Pass, score. It was unbelievable. Michigan won, was it 90-77? And the beauty of the Sweet 16 game is it continued. Right, we focused on the Sweet 16 game, but it continued because then they played against, was it number 3 seed, I believe, Tennessee, and destroyed Tennessee. They were up 22 at half, won by 33 at the end of the game. It was a no contest. Michigan scored 95 points by this very thing. Defense-oriented. It finally clicked. Again, when you drift, when you find yourself drifting, go back, lean into your identity. Remind yourself who you are, align your behaviors, and the results will take care of themselves. It was a great, stunning turnaround for Michigan. Very happy for them. And they're on their way to Indianapolis in the Final Four. Go Blue. Okay. So we're finally going to talk about the game that everyone's been talking about, and that's going to be the number 1 seeded Duke Blue Devils versus the number 2 seeded Connecticut Huskies. Okay. This game. So Duke is a favorite to win the national championship. They did very well. They had a 14-0 run in the first half. They went into halftime up with a 15-point lead at half. And statistically, we saw the statistics on the board because they were showing it during the game. Statistically, when a number 1 seed is up by 15 points or more, they win the game 100% of the time. Specifically, 134 times it's happened. They've won 134 times. 0 times has a team that's a number 1 seed with a 15-point lead at half lost. It's never happened. What happened this game? Well, you can already catch my drift if you don't know this game. UConn slowly climbs itself back. UConn is a great program. They're not my favorite. I don't really care for them or the program so much, but they are good. So we have to respect from that point. They've won 2 national championships. It was in the last 3 years. One of the players, Caravan, already has 2 national championships under his belt. He's a senior. He already has 2 of them. This game, Caravan, one of their best players, missed all his three-pointers. He was 0 for 6 attempts. And at the very end of the game, shoots a three-pointer, makes it, and gets that game within, was it 70-69? They were down 4 with a minute to go. He makes that shot. It's a 1-point game. Thereafter, Duke scores because they have their great players in Boozer. They have the Boozer twins. The big one made that shot. They're up by 2. And then UConn has the ball with 30 seconds. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what Duke is doing either. They drain a bunch of time. Duke fouls UConn. UConn has 2 free throws, makes 1. Are you kidding me? Makes 1. And now there's 10 seconds, and Duke is up by 2 points. It's 72-70. Now, no timeouts are taken, so it's very quick. He misses the first free throw. He makes the second one, immediately takes out of bounds. Duke has 10 seconds. They're inbounding the ball. They have the ball. All they have to do is inball the ball, drain the clock, and it is done. All you have to do from a coaching perspective, I've done this so many times, get the ball, move it, 2 passes, you're done. Make them foul you or just move the ball. You inbound the ball quickly inside. That gets passed to one of the twin boozers. And he catches the ball. 2 defenders come to him. It's about that half-court line. There's so many things he could have done. Right? He gets the ball, could have pump faked, dribbled. He could have pump faked. He could have pivoted until they fouled him. He could have pump faked. He could have dribbled right in between the 2, split them. Right? There's multiple things he could have done. What did he do? He did the worst thing he possibly do. He turned around, panicked, threw the ball. Both guys jump in to block the ball. It gets tipped. There's 10 seconds. All right? There's 10 seconds in this inbound. All Duke has to do is hold on to the ball. He could have just grabbed the ball and just thrown it up 100 feet up in the air and wasted the clock. He threw it. It gets deflected. UConn gets the ball. They pass it to Karabakh. He's moving sideways. He throws it right back to a freshman, Braylon Mullins, who had missed all his shots, 0 for 4. He catches the ball, knows there's no time to clock, immediately throws it up. He's just on the edges of that logo in the half-court area. Throws it up. Perfect shot. Drains it. Nothing but the bottom of the net. 0.4 seconds, which is no time for Duke to really do much. All they can do is catch and shoot. They throw it all the way across the court. It gets deflected, and that is the game. Literally, it was guaranteed that Duke would win that game, and they absolutely blew it and gave UConn. UConn was living on a prayer, hanging on a prayer. All they just give us the ball. This gives one shot off. They were given the ball, and they made that shot. It was incredible in the moment shot making by that freshman Mullins. This was a complete breakdown for Duke. And that's the lesson. You've heard me say this phrase again, complacency kills. It is something we talk about in the Marine Corps all the time. Because when you least expect it, that's when the enemy, who has a voice, can do something. If we're on patrol and we lead our forward operating base, or FOB, and you're in charge of your own security, you have to make sure that you are focused on the enemy at all times until you get back and you transfer that burden of responsibility of security to the people that are in charge of security for that FOB, right? For that base. You can't just relax when you see the base and just stop paying attention to your surroundings, because that's when you're going to get hit, right? When you get hit with an IED or get hit with an ambush or get hit with something. Complacency kills. That's the problem. And here, Duke thought they had it in the bag. They were up by 2 points. They had the ball. There was only 10 seconds left. What's the worst that can happen? There's no way they can get a shot off. They're going to foul us. Duke panicked, was complacent, threw the ball away, gave UConn a chance. And all they need is one chance. All they need is one chance. Give me one shot. And Mullins, as a freshman, drained that shot. That will probably be the biggest shot of his entire career. Okay, and he's from Indiana. They're going to Indianapolis for the Final Four. So Coach Schreier, I mentioned Coach Schreier before. He's my age. He was on the floor playing for Duke when I was on the floor as a manager for Michigan. Okay, at least 2 games, I remember. He's the head coach. He's done a very good job. He inherited the team from Coach Ujensky. He's got a lot of talent, big name, big reputation. He's only been a head coach with the best atmosphere possible. He's done a good job, but here he panics. Most coaches nowadays know that you can come back, right? And so they'll call timeout after the free throw just to align. You don't have to if you trust your guys, which I think that's probably why he maybe did it, right? You either do it to make sure or you trust your guys enough. But even when he saw the pass and then Boozer just turn around about to fling it, you got to be ready for that timeout. You got to be ready with the ref right next to you, because there's no good time on timeout where no one hears it, right? Tree falls, no one hears it. Did it make noise? If he's not next to the ref, doesn't hear it, there is no timeout. Being ready in the moment, being right next to a ref, being ready to call timeout if there's a glimpse of a chance that there might be a turnover, so you can call timeout, restructure, even if there was 5 seconds down, just to call timeout, make a pass, and make sure you get it cross court, right? All you got to do is get it away from the basket. Get it away and be able to make sure you drain that clock. Complete disaster from Coach Schreier on the coaching staff and for the players for Duke. Great job by UConn not giving up. Again, not my favorite team program, but respect is due on that one. That's what we learned from. Complacency kills. You could also do the flip side, that it's never over till it's over, like we talked about last time. It's not over till the buzzer's done. What's the one thing you can do What's the one thing you can control? In this case for UConn was to create as much chaos as possible and see if you can get a shot off. Just get one shot to get a chance. So very exciting game. If you haven't seen it, please look it up. Please look it up. Duke, UConn, final 2 minutes. You'll never forget that one. So a lot of things that we can learn. And as we wrap up, let's take our main takeaways from this video. I got the 4 main takeaways in this video right here. So the first one, execute under chaos. We talked about the Purdue and Texas. They knew their identity. They knew what they needed to be doing, being in the right position at the right time. That is how they were able to execute under chaos. Those great, important things for us to take away. Lean into your identity. Execute under chaos. Okay? Do not panic. Lean into that. Second one, adaptability when attacked. Houston was punched in the mouth. They were rebounding and defensive team. They were challenged. Their identity was challenged, and they could not adapt. And they struggled, and they ended up losing by 10 points in a game where most people thought it was a runaway. They were playing at home. Houston, it was theirs to lose, and they lost it. Illinois did a great job. Illinois is going to the Final Four. Congratulations to the Fighting Illini. But you got to be able to adapt when you're attacked. Houston did not. Let's learn from that. Third, return to your identity when you drift. This was the challenge we talked about in Michigan. Last 2 to 3 weeks, in my opinion, from a coaching perspective, they were not playing the way they should be playing. They were not focused on their identity. They were playing more complacent on defense. They were standing a lot on offense, which is a no-no for basketball. You don't want to stand around like you're playing soccer. You got to be moving around. Okay, I think more hockey, less soccer. You got to be moving around in basketball. And they were just kind of like, hey, we're the better team. We should beat you. And that isn't going to work very well once you start getting the NCAA tournament. Finally, this game against Alabama. Alabama's a hot shooting team. They made 9 3-pointers that first half. Michigan made a switch in the second half, leaned in their identity, got reoriented, and the behaviors started to be aligned with identity, which is a hard defense first. They won these big runs. They won the game, and it continued into Tennessee, and hopefully will continue in the Final Four national championship game. Hopefully. And finally, complacency kills. Duke had it in the bag. Statistically, 134 times, they would win 134 when you're up by 15 at half a number 1 seed. Duke had the ball. They had the lead. There was 10 seconds left in the game, and they were complacent with the inbound, didn't take care of the ball, neither the players nor the coach. They gave UConn a chance, and that's all UConn needed to win the game. Complacency kills. It's never over till it's over. These are the key points from this video. And I hope you enjoyed this. March Madness is always crazy. You never know what's going to happen. All right, we're about to enter the Final Four national championship game. But hopefully this has been a good point for you to think about things you're not used to seeing in the games. Leadership principles, leadership traits, things that we can use ourselves. So please, share this with someone who likes basketball, likes March Madness, or someone who likes leadership, because there's stuff that we can learn from these young men on this. And remember, whether you're leading yourself, leading others, or leading leaders, be a leader. My name is Daniel Pinedo. I cannot wait to talk about the Final Four national championship game on our next episode. And until then, we will see you. Thank you very much.